This deck is legitimately mono blue for Engulf the Shore. But Brain in a Jar is in this deck for a very interesting reason. It's because you set up... I think it's because you set up Part the Water Veil into Rise from the Tides or something. You either Brain the Rise or you Brain the Part the Water Veil and cast the other or something. I can't remember which. You do one of the two. You're supposed to set up a Brain to do either this or this. It's standard. It's weird. Hang on. The combo. Incredibly powerful magic card. Blah, 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 blah. That it makes 50 to 25 2/2 zombies for only 6 mana. The problem is that it's a sorcery. Okay, so Brain in this deck, in this standard deck, is actually just designed at 0.1 tickets. Brain in the deck that Saffron Olive brewed is just designed to make the Rise from the Tides instant speed more of a combat trick. So it does have a spell curve. That's something that I'm jealous of, and something that we don't talk about enough with this deck, to the point where I'm going to do that right now, because that's something that I need to look at for the deck. This is the sideboard for Jund. That's something that I need to discuss. That's something that Saffron, his real name is Seth, has addressed with his deck maybe better than I did with this one. And let's look at our brain curve. So what's the brain curve? And we'll go ahead and go to sideboard mode. So this is sideboard. That's the sideboard wombo combo of Nahiri, Jace, Emmy. Most people are only running Nahiri. Jace also pulls off Emrakul. So I'm also running Jace's because I like Jace against things like Lingering Souls and Affinity. And those are the two big ones, I guess, when I think about Jace. You can use it against Infect. I just like Jace. Maybe I'm biased. I'm probably biased. This is a sideboard card as well. This is a sideboard card. This is a sideboard card. Two of these are sideboard. The Vendilion Click and that is sideboard. The Purge is sideboard. And we're good to go. Okay, so cool. So I'm learning what cards are main and what cards are side. Okay. So the brain curve looks like this. So we're going to move everything that isn't a spell over. So Snapcaster I'm going to move over. Okay. And, alright, so my brain curve looks like this. My brain curve is like this. If I had to show the curve, like specifically the brain curve is this. We're really heavy on 2s. I am fully aware of that. Sometimes this is a 5. That makes me like this card a little bit more, because after I do a Brain Cryptic, I can follow it up with an Ends. That really excites me about this card. That's actually why we're running 2. Beck Call could in theory be a 6, but I don't want it to be a 6. I want it to be a 2. But you get the point. Like, both of these can be 2s. This could sometimes be a 5 in the curve. This could sometimes be a 6. So does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. But that's this article if you want to build it. It's 9-ticket standard. And the deck's actually really cool. So yeah, so let's look at what he was doing though. So he doesn't have any 1s, so maybe we've got him there, but there's like not very many good 1-mana things to be braining. So yeah, in my deck I can brain a Spell Snare, a Bolt, or a Path. Turn 2, I can brain anything from Muddles to Helixes to Remands to the Becks to the Oath to the Ends or odd side of Odds Ends. Yeah. So ideally what we're doing with the brain that's super busted is the Ends side of Odds Ends on the 2 of the curve, or the full value of Beck Call for fusion spells is actually a better interaction than split cards. But the other card we're considering for this deck is some number of Boom Bust. We'll get to that. But anyway. Can I use Nissa's Judgment on a tapped creature? And if so, how much of the effect resolves? What, Nissa's Judgment? Jund versus Jeskai Control on Star City right now is this tweet. I'll have to watch it. Maybe while I make my lunch on my phone. Nissa's Judgment. Okay, wait. So it's got support too. So what happened? You're asking, can I use Nissa's Judgment on a tapped creature? Okay, choose up to 1 target creature. Okay, so you're trying to kill your opponent's creature? It says up to 2. Because it says each of up to 2, yes you can. Yeah, you can use Nissa's Judgment on just 1 tap creature. Yeah, support says up to. It says put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So yes, you can. To answer your question, It will resolve. Yes. But anyways, does this brain curve make sense? Now, once you sideboard, let's just do the whole thing. So let's put the whole full 75 in. So what are other cards that add to the curve? And if so, what can they do? Okay, so Wear Tear curves on 1 for brain, even if you want to cast the Wear side or you want to cast both sides. Purge is another 2. Vendetta Click does not count. Emrakul does not count. Jace does not count. Vandal Blast will not work as we want it to. It is Overload. Overload does not get necessarily abused with brain the way you'd want it to. Overload is not a mechanic that works with brain, but it's fine. It's another 1 mana brain curve for us. So yeah, this is the full curvature. Like a lot. Science rules. Thanks for hitting that follow button. Welcome to the BrewSpytheMagicGuy channel. I appreciate you. But yeah, so this is kind of how it curves. So how many cards do I have that aren't involved in the brain in a jar? 12. Well, okay, 13. So if you have a brain in a jar, these 13 cards don't have much to do with him. So that's worth thinking about. That is worth thinking about. Yep. But how many spells do we have that do? So we've got 34 spells between the main and the sideboard that have synergy for brain. I think that's enough synergy for brain. My feeling is that brain feels great in this archetype, actually. You don't have to agree with me, that's fine. That's the beauty of Magic, is everybody, or just, that's the beauty of, opinions, is everybody has them. And they're not necessarily wrong or right. So this excites me. The fact that we can pull off 1 mana cryptics, and yes, that happens. And yes, it's awesome. And yes, it's really nice because we can have other spells behind that cryptic. So when people look at Brain in a Jar and they're like, oh, this will never be good in blue, white, red. I don't disagree with that statement at all. I'm not going to refute that statement. I'm not going to say that, oh, no, you're wrong. Oh, this deck's great. No, it's not. I should probably just bring stock blue, white, red to the GP. But Brain and Nahiri give me an opportunity to brew in Modern, and they do have potentially very powerful implications. I would say this is maybe a nice brain curve. You do the bird Cestral on 2, and then you curve up the curve. Maybe you do an Anger on 3. Instant Speed is super sweet. By the way, if you thought Sorcery Speed Anger was good in Modern, wait till you see us do an Instant Speed Anger. It's hilarious. It's very much more powerful. But anyways, moving up the curve. And then, of course, Cryptic, I think, is the most powerful thing we can be braining. And then you have these. Now, when you look at... Now, I hardly talk about the brain curve, by the way. I hardly talk about it. Because when I designed this deck, I wasn't thinking about having a brain curve. But it technically does have one. And it's not an ugly one. It's really not that hideous. Let's go back to the main board. Let's go back to it mainboarded, though. It's actually not that hideous. That's good to know. I never really thought to look at it. But the brain curve is not that ugly. It has a curvature. That's good. That is a good thing. That is good news. Good news, everyone. Good news. All right, snappies. Yeah, and that's the sideboard. Except one of these. Ah, gotcha. How do you sideboard against Jund? Oh, I already showed it off. I was right here. We did the Jund sideboard plan just a hot second ago. Hang on a second, though, friend. Let me get this back to where it was. I'm happy to show you. We basically just take out Bird Cestral 100%. You just take it out. It's not even so much that the Abrupt Decay is an issue or that the Kolaghan's Command is an issue. In fact, I am hoping they keep in the Abrupt Decays. I know you're sitting there wait, scratching your head. You're like, wait a minute. You're trying to use your opponent's best tools against them? Best tools in the matchup against us, against them? Yes, and we've done it several times against Jund players. I'll show you how that works. That's a technique that I love to use in Legacy. It's called transformational sideboards, but we'll talk about that briefly in a hot second. Law of Rakdos. Just give me 2 seconds to finish the sideboard plan. I actually only technically have 2 more tutable cards to bring in, but the muddle is, well, it's muddle. Anyway. Okay, so this is the main board plan. This is what the deck looks like with all of the pieces in the correct places. Yes, okay. So I'll screenshot this and I will rename this. Actually, we'll rename it first and then screenshot this. Just this is for my reference, but this is the main board plan that we're thinking of going with. Screenshot. And yes, we have Emmercold people. It's hilarious. Anyway, you might be asking, why do I put Brain back in the forest pile? It's because the Brain doesn't Beck call until turn 4. So besides, like, our most powerful turn 4 plays are either Cryptic Command or Beck Call. The Beck Call does not cost us necessarily 4 mana. It can either cost you 4 colorless mana. Seriously, my mana investment for fusing Beck Call and why I think it's powerful in Modern is because if I naturally have the Beck in hand and I naturally see a Brain, between playing the Brain on either turn 2 or turn 3, it is a 4 colorless mana investment. It's one of the reasons we've upped the number of Beck Calls to 2. It is one of the reasons. The other reason being hand hate. Does it sometimes cost more than that? Yes, but you get to space it out. So if you don't have the Beck Call in hand and you have to transmute for it, you have to tack another colorless mana and you have to tack another couple blue mana onto the Wombo combo. It's not really a combo, it's a synergy. I am fully aware of that, but you know what? That is still more mana efficient than naturally fusing this card. Because you're getting to space it out over the course of several turns, because everything lines up so nicely, I like to put the Beck Call in the same converted mana cost as Cryptic Command, because you can have a sequence of either a turn 2 you slam Brain if you're trying to avoid counter magic, or you turn 3 the Brain, immediately charge it again, that time it'll cast the Beck Call, instant speed. You can draw more than just 4 cards. Brain Cestral can actually draw upwards of 5 cards. We've had sometimes I do it in response to my opponent. Seriously, I'll say it one more time. This card was never intended to be instant speed. This card was never designed to be instant speed, but I'll go ahead and show you the sideboard plan for John real quick. That card was never designed to be instant speed. This card, it was never designed to be instant speed. Read it. If you look at Glimpse of Nature, it was never, these effects were never designed to be able to be cast on your opponent's turn. Ever. So that's why I don't know why they designed Brain the way that they did. I think they weren't thinking about cards like this. But anyways. What's up, Agraphine? How's it going, Mike? Yeah, like I don't think that this was an intention of Brain. I don't think this was something that they intended with Brain. I don't think so. Hang on a sec, I'll pull this up in another window. But anyways, that's just my thoughts. I don't think that was an intended outcome of I don't think that was an intended outcome. There we go. I don't think it was an intended outcome of the card, but that's just my thoughts. And I will show you against a match. Now, this isn't Jund, but I will show you real briefly. This is a match we played a little bit earlier. I will show you us Bird Cestraling against a deck that has Hand Hate, against a deck that has main deck Culligan's Command. Just watch. Just watch. I'm going to go make some lunch, though, I think. I wanted to give you guys something to look at, though. The problem is this is going way too fast. Hang on, let me pause it. Is that fine? I really need to eat something. I need to make like an early dinner or a late lunch because my stomach is just, I'm famished and I'm starting to get a headache. So, yeah. It's exactly. It's strong, but it's not like, it's not punishingly strong. That's right, Philippine. That's right. I think that it maybe wasn't, and it may have been, okay, it may not have been intended, but I'm sure they figured that out. I hope so. I'm sure it got tested, but it does feel really powerful. So without further ado, I'm going to go get something to eat. I'm going to let the rest of this match play, and you guys can see it for yourself without me talking over the match, without me being